So in the previous video I have shown you the two effects of friction. So the first effect of friction was that it causes wear and tear. It causes the object to smoothen. So if it's rough, it will reduce the roughness, it will break down the irregularities. So that's the first thing that friction causes. The second effect of friction is that friction causes heat. It produces heat. So energy that is being used to push something with this friction, that energy will be converted into heat energy, and the surfaces will get hotter. So now we also saw that the disadvantages of friction, like it causes heating up of parts, and that causes some problem. And it also makes your tires and your slippers smoothen, and so that it'll wear your tires and your slippers, and that makes them useless, and you have to replace your tires and slippers. So your slippers get slippery, and your tires don't work that well. So in this video we'll look at why friction is very necessary, and in fact friction is so necessary that if it didn't exist, life would be very, very hard. In fact, I believe it would have been even impossible to exist. So the first advantage of friction is that it allows us to stop. Well, that is something that we might not acknowledge. We might take it for granted, but actually friction is what actually helps us stop. So be it while walking, or be it while cycling, or in a car or bus, anything, it is only friction that helps us stop. In fact, when you're walking, friction helps you walk. So very easy demonstration for that would be, go inside the toilet right now. I don't want you to try it out, but if you've ever done this, if you have a very slippery floor, like you're inside the toilets, we have tiles, and in fact if there's some soap or soapy water on the surface, it would be next to impossible for you to walk on that surface. You'll start slipping at the same spot, and that is why it is very difficult for cars to drive in winters, because it's ice everywhere, and so there's not enough friction for the cars to move. Also, friction helps cars to stop, cars and cycles and even us to stop. So if there's no friction, for example on icy roads or on slippery roads, it is very difficult for cars or for us to stop, and it's a problem. So that is where friction comes into play. It helps us stop, and it also helps us walk or move. Because the surface was rough, I could very easily stop the cycle by applying the brakes. But if there was, let's say, ice here, even if I would have applied the brakes completely, I would still continue to slide in that direction, so it would be very difficult for me to stop. So that is one very important benefit of friction, which is that it allows us to stop our vehicles and even ourselves. Another very useful thing or benefit about friction that I would like to show you here is matchsticks. So what actually happens is, when I have to light this matchstick, so this matchstick here, this is made up of wood, but it has some coating here on top, and this chemical here, this actually gets ignited at some temperature. So that temperature is above room temperature, and that is why this doesn't just start burning itself. But yeah, I need to supply it some heat, and when it is supplied with some heat, it lights on fire, and that is how your matchstick works. So I need to first of all provide it with some heat. So how do I provide it with heat? Well, the easiest way is to use friction. Remember, another effect of friction was, apart from causing wear and tear, friction also produced heat. So when I rub the head of this matchstick against this rough surface here, see, it's rough. So when I rub it against this rough surface, that causes friction, and that friction causes a heating, which produces enough heat to light this matchstick up. So yeah, see, if I rub it, enough, it will cause the matchstick to burn. So that was how friction produced heat, and that is one of the uses of friction. And there are numerous other uses. For example, heating up our hands by rubbing them against each other during winters. And thus what you can conclude from this simple discussion here is that there might be many negative things about friction. For example, it causes wear and tear, it wears out our slippers, it wears out our tires, and that causes loss to us. We have to replace our tires and slippers. But apart from that, friction also is a very necessary part of our lives, because without friction we would never be able to walk, or we would also be, it's not impossible to walk without friction, but it would be a very difficult task for us to walk without friction and to stop without friction. And also we would never be able to light our matchsticks without friction and heat up our hands during winters without friction. So yeah, friction may have any downsides, but it is a very necessary part of our life. That is it for this video.